In the previous video, Zhang had shot an arrow through Shu Hao's leg and was forced to face his gang and wonder if humanity could get past the snow disaster. Zhang Yi, who was watching the news, saw that the news outlet was telling people that the government was doing its best to get everyone past the snow disaster, saying that the snow disaster should soon be over and to believe in the government's power. Zhang Yi thinks that the news outlet was way too positive and that the snow disaster duration could not be judged by common sense. In the group chat, Auntie Lynn boasts that the government can surely deal with this disaster and that people should share their resources. Zhang, who was scrolling through his phone, got a text from Fang asking if he was alright. Zhang was aware that she was probably just checking if he was still alive to see if he still had resources. Fang texted that she no longer had any food and if he could spare some since he had bought supplies before. Zhang realizes her ulterior motive for texting him. He sends her a picture of his luxurious meals, boasting about having food to eat. Fang, seeing this, is pissed, originally just planning to use Zhang as a spare tire, and says he had hit rock bottom and deserved to be single. Her friend, who was with her, sent a guilt trip message to Zhang saying he had made Fang unhappy as if it was his problem. Zhang stands his ground like a Chad. He is telling them they were being dramatic. Fang's friend replies that if he is willing to spare a few meals, he would gain Fang's love. Zhang sent her a sarcastic text as if he didn't care at all about it. Fang's friend gets angry, telling Fang how Zhang acted and that he wouldn't spare any food to them. Fang's friend says that Zhang is not that smart and asks if she has any other followers to ask for help. Fang calls Zhou Ping, the one who had asked her out in the coffee lobby. She asks him a favor if he could spare some food for her. At the door, Zhou Ping delivered her the food he had stocked up. Fang acted cute to him, saying that she was so thankful. Zhou Ping leaves and they close the door. Fang thinks to herself that Zhou is delusional if he thinks he has a chance to be with her and would have better luck in his next life. 3 days later, we see Zhang, who seems to be anticipating something. Just then, the power went out for the entire building. Hearing the screaming, people started to come out of their rooms asking if their neighbors had any electricity. A lady holding a child says not only that, but the running water had stopped. The people begin to ask why the higher-ups aren't appearing to help. They begin to worry about their food supply and how they are going to keep warm. Zhang, who was eating a warm meal in his room, said that the officials couldn't be counted on this time. Zhang, who was prepared, turned on his generator, which powered his room. Auntie Lynn, shivering, wondered why everything was going wrong. She sees that in the neighborhood community group chat, they get news of several cities that have fallen and that it might be another mass extinction. Auntie Lynn sees this and plans to get supplies for herself, while the other folks still don't know. In the community group chat, Auntie Lynn messages everyone that the weather will persist for a little while more and that officials are working on the repair. She threatens that if they fail to cooperate, they will be sent to the police. While there were people that worried about the situation, there were some that didn't. Shu Hao, seeing the group chat, says that the old lady is useless and now dares to issue orders. His shivering crew complains about not getting the help they need, and Shu Hao blames them for being useless against Zhang. Zhang, who was chilling at home, receives a notification. In the group chat, Auntie Lynn says that she was collecting supplies so that she could distribute them evenly. Zhang smiles, knowing that she had done the same trick in his previous life. He sees that Auntie Lynn has messaged him directly. She messaged him knowing he had a lot of supplies, and it was his time to help the community. Zhang was pissed, knowing that in his previous life, he had donated some of his supplies, but was still betrayed and was turned into food for others. He tells her in a voice recording that she was doing a great job and that if she keeps collecting, she should remember to give him some, saying that he was out of supplies. Auntie Lynn was angry, knowing that Zhang had stocked up a lot of food beforehand. Unwilling to lose such a big fish if Zhang falls for it, she calmly asks him if he contributes to the organization, they will remember his good deed. He tells her that if she is a leading figure, she should give him some food, saying that he has eaten everything already. She yells at him, asking if he really was going against her, and that he will be dealt with later. He tells her that she and her organization are just a joke and that she is not even a civil servant. He tells her if all that power went to her head and if she had the ability to go order people around, he would be waiting. Angry, she slams her phone, unwilling to take Zhang's insults. On Zhang's security monitor, he sees that people are giving their supplies to Auntie Lynn. He decided against warning them since it was their fault for falling for it and that it had nothing to do with him. In the outside world, one has to fend for oneself or else could only wait for death. In the group chat, people who gave their supplies away complained about Auntie Lynn if she would distribute supplies and that they had nothing else to eat. Auntie Lynn, seeing this, says that they are stupid for falling for that and that all of their supply are hers. She asks herself why she would give back when she worked so hard to trick them off their supplies. Seeing the phone ring, she thought those idiots finally realized that their supplies were her now. She was shocked to see that it was Zhu Hao calling her. He praises her for tricking the people into giving their supplies to herself. She tells him that the supplies are for distribution and would be given at a different time. He tells her that she is being shameless and that if she doesn't hand them over the supply, he and his people will come personally to pick them up. At Auntie Lynn's place, the door had been broken into and Zhu Hao and his people kept marching in. Auntie Lynn yells at them that they are breaking into private property. Zhu Hao slaps her, saying that he was doing justice for tricking the neighbors. Zhang, who was watching from his security monitor, was happy to see that pain was being paid back to Auntie Lynn. He suddenly thinks of sending a video so everyone in the group chat can take a look. Zhu Hao, who was in Auntie Lynn's home, tells his people to take all the supplies that they can find and says that they couldn't let her take advantage of their neighbors. Auntie Lynn holds onto Zhu Hao's leg and tells him that some of those supplies are hers, and how would she and her grandson survive without them? He tells her that it is none of his business if they survive or not. With her still begging, holding on to him, he kicks her, knocking her to the ground. Her grandson, seeing all this, was shocked to see his grandma laid out. In his anger, he pulls out a knife and rushes at the men. The grandson stabs a man from his behind, making him scream out in pain. The man tells the grandson if he had a death wish while holding his butt. The man kicks the kid, laying him out, while the other men compliment him for that kick. The man said that it was not a big deal for him and took out a knife that was plunged into his ass. Auntie Lynn got closer to her grandson with her hand shaking, worrying about his injury from being kicked. Zhu Hao tells them that they deserve it and spits on them. As Zhu Hao is leaving, he tells them that it is justice that he's serving, and that is the price for tricking their neighbors. The neighbors who watched the recording that Zhang had sent to the group were ecstatic to see Auntie Lynn get what she deserved and sent praises to Hao in the chat. Zhang, seeing how they reacted, says they haven't realized the true problem. If Zhu Hao dares to break into Auntie Lynn's home, he would do it to others and their homes too, but none of that is his concern. Seeing that Auntie Lynn sent something through WeChat, she expressed that she needed drugs so that Dr. Zhou could do surgery for her grandson. Zhang was surprised that Dr. Zhou Qier still wanted to help do the surgery for Auntie Lynn. In his past life, she was one of the few neighbors who was still considered good and saved many lives using her medical skills. In the group chat, while Auntie Lynn was begging for help, everyone expressed why they should help her, especially when she tried to scam them. Zhang shakes his head, saying that out of the group, Dr. Zhou, who usually kept to herself, spoke out for Auntie Lynn's grandson, and that it was truly a doctor's kindness. Even if the kid was saved, the outside will continue to get worse, and some of them won't be able to hold out for long. A man standing near the window of his home sees that the first floor is almost fully buried, wondering what they could do. In the back of the room, his wife panicked that it would be the end of the world. The outside world had been flooded with blizzards, and some parts of the northern city would be below -100 degrees. The snow, which kept falling for many days, started to increase, leaving people who failed to evacuate to be buried in snow, leaving their frozen corpses. In the group chat, Auntie Lynn was getting desperate, saying that they were starving and she would pay a high food price. Zheng also texted that he would buy food for double the amount that Auntie Lynn was offering. Each person in the group chat had a different reaction. Some of them cared about the money while some were scared that it might be the end of the world. Cheng Jiang said that he had a lot of money to spend, and that if they wanted to sell to him to private message him. Cheng Jiang realized that the entire city's situation had gone to shit, and by using his money now while it was still worth something to some people, he would collect their supplies. A lady questions Cheng Jiang on how he could buy food when their family is starving. He tells her that it's not like he's snatching it from her, and that it is their freedom if they want to sell him their food. The lady begins to beg for food in the group chat, saying that they are about to starve, and that they have a 9-month-old baby with them. Jiang knows that the lady will take advantage of the person once they agree to help. In his previous life, Shi Li Mei, who was begging for food, was able to survive a long time while feeding her baby and didn't seem as simple as she appeared. 10 days later, while Jiang is working out, he receives a call. Guessing that most people had finished their food by now, he understood the two girls, Fang and her friend, finally couldn't bear the hunger and called him. In the face call, Jiang shows off that he still has plenty to eat and sarcastically says that they have lost some weight. Fang and her friend could only drool, surprised he still had so much food left. They begin to parade him with questions on how he still had so much left and why he was not shivering in these cold temperatures. He tells them that he was eating junk food right now because he is too lazy to cook, and that his place has a warm fireplace keeping his room cozy. Fang begins to act all cutesy, praising him for being well prepared, and if she could come stay with him and take a look at his place. Fang pretended as if she liked Jiang, saying that she missed him when she only wanted to use him for his food supply. Jiang pondered that in his previous life, he must have been crazy to even like and chase after Fang. Jiang begins to brag about how warm and cozy he is, stunning Fang and her friend. Fang starts to yell at Jiang, blaming him for not helping when they are starving and freezing. Jiang smirks that Fang has shown her true face and tells her not to try treating him as a fool. In response, Fang tells Jiang to shut up. Jiang asks why she was so mad, and that he was just being honest, telling her that it was not like they were friends or family, so why would he have to help them out? Just as she was yelling at Jiang, he hung up the phone on her. Angry, she throws her phone down, saying who he thinks he is to scold her. Her friend begins to blame her for acting that way, and if she didn't, they would be enjoying all the things in Jiang's house. Her friend exposes her for being fake and acting like a hotshot. Fang in her anger attacks her friend and calls her a bitch, and on the bed, they get into a scuffle. Jiang, who was watching the news, heard that the news outlet was saying to meet everyone's demand for power, it would be provided from 1-2 p.m. every afternoon, but only small power appliances could be used. The news outlet says that major power stations are out of operation and hopes that people will reduce their electrical consumption to avoid power outages. Jiang knows that the government finally can't hide the snow disaster anymore and checks the group chat. Seeing their different reaction, he was still surprised that some of them would still sell their supplies for money. He was dumbfounded that even though they knew it was the end of the world and money would have no use, people would still exchange life-saving supplies. Jiang thinks to himself that life has to go on and that they would do whatever to preserve and survive this disaster. As everyone else seems to be doing their best in their ways. Back in Fang's room, she and her friend seemed to have been roughed up. Her friend asked what they were supposed to do now and who else they could count on. Fang tells her that if they could kill Jiang, they could occupy his house. Knowing that just both of them won't be enough, she calls Zhou Peng for help. When Zhou Peng came over, Fang had made up a sad story of Jiang trying to take advantage of her, making him furious. He threatened that he would for sure beat up Jiang. She suggests to Zhou Peng that they rob him of his house and stay together there in a flirty tone. The three of them walk toward where Jiang lives, planning they strike first and kill him. All three holding weapons at the door. Zhou Peng knocks, asking him if he is home. Jiang, seeing him on the monitor, guessed that he was up to no good. Jiang, looking closer at his screen, saw that there were three of them holding weapons waiting for him. Jiang was pissed that these three were trying to kill him. Zhou Peng tried to lure Zhang out by telling him that he'd exchange medicine for some food. While Zhang was about to hook up his hose to the sink again, he thought of a better idea. Just when the three of them thought Zhang was about to come out, they were sprayed by Zhang using weird liquid. They were wondering what Zhang had sprayed them with, realizing that it was his leftover trash. Zhou Peng kept knocking on the door, threatening to kill him while the other two were throwing up. Zhang laughed at them, saying that was what they wanted, and why they aren't thanking him for his leftover food. Zhou Peng threatened that once he got inside, he would kill him as he swung his knife at the door. As he hit the door, the knife bounced back, slicing his hand. He rolled around, screaming in pain, as Zhang, who watches this, says that he is just another idiot waiting for death.